Jeb can go away because he won, and I really hate when he wins. That's alright. That's alright. I picked on him last night and made him mad at me because I told everybody what to do. And Jeb was like, "You're a jerk, Mickey." I could see it in his face, but we had friends over that he doesn't know that well, so he's being polite.
That was rough.
He had only met them once, and then like the whole time I'm like, "Oh, you should do this to Jeb." Or you should just, and you could see him like, "Mickey, I hate you. I hate when you do this to me. Why do you do this to me?" And it's a game that he can never win either, which makes it even better. But obviously I can't win this game because Michael beat me 6 times in a row and Jeb's beat me twice. I love the game and I can't win.
It is. So I guess the first thing I should say about Santorini is when Mickey had me sit down and play it the first time, I was like, oh, this is going to be very simple. You're just going to move and build, and that's it. And then as I'm playing it, I'm realizing like it's not a linear complexity. Like it's all over the place. Yeah, it just gets harder and harder, and you're like sitting here, and I'm like, okay, so I can see all this stuff, and then I realized if I just stand up and look at it, then I can see more possibilities. So the whole adding the 3 dimensions, and oh man. It is a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there was some thinking in there and stuff, but really the game's quick.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess if we, usually we start off on did we like the game, but we just jumped into telling why we like the game. I think both Jeb and I give it a thumbs up.
We both like it.
It's probably one of the better Kickstarters that we've seen.
Yeah.
And neither of us touched it. Which was dumb.
Yeah, that's my mistake now.
But anyways.
I think at that point we were in the mode where it was like we need to buy stuff that we know is good.
And again, like I said, I knew it was coming into my house, so I knew we'd get to play. Right. And even during the Kickstarter, the components and stuff looked like they were going to be good. Again, I'm a fan of the art. I don't know if Jeb likes this style or not. I like it.
It's alright. It's kind of cheapy-ish.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it, and I'm not like, oh, this is the best art style ever, but it's good.
Yeah. So, all the pluses that we've been talking about, it plays quick, great components, rules are very clear, it looks great. There's tons of options, tons of replayability. I don't think either of us have tried multiple players yet, so
I haven't.
Just real quick the way that it works, and I think I touched on it real briefly at the beginning, but so if you play with 3 players, you just play with another set, exact same rules, except that once a player gets knocked out, or however you want to say it, they just stop playing, and then the other 2 go down, and then whoever wins. So
if one of their people can't move it
or build or whatever,
then you can't even move the other guy.
So in other words, like if you can still see you probably can't see the board, but there's a possibility you can get trapped and not be able to move. So then that guy's stuck. So if that happens to both your people, then you're just done. And the last way is to just take, again, 2 sets of people, and then you alternate taking turns on who builds.
So if me and you were on a team, I would move a person, and then the other team would move one, and then Mickey would move
but you do play with 4 god powers, so your teammate's going to have it. Yeah, wow, that's when it gets cool, because again, if you listen to what I was saying during setup, the challenger was basically the setup guy, picks, in a 4-player game, they would pick 4 gods, they put it out, then he's the last one to pick, but you go around in clockwise order, everybody picks a god. So everybody's going to be playing with a different power. So not only do you have to pay attention to both your opponent's powers, but you need to be aware of your partner's power to try to help him do what he needs to do.
I was going to say...
So that could get... We haven't tried it yet, but I can just imagine that gets totally awesome crazy.
But I assume that you can't use my power if we're on the same team.
It's just you can you get a god card,
okay.
Who wouldn't like it? If you're not into strategy games...
if you don't like thinking...
this is not the thing for you.
Well, I mean, I guess thinking a lot. I mean, I think everyone thinks. But,
I don't know. I've met some people.
Stop looking
at me. Not you! had too much to drink.
Oh, which, by the way, we made these martinis when we were doing the setup, and we started drinking them as we were playing, and we haven't even gotten halfway done with them.
Oh yeah,
that's how quick this game went.
Plays. I think for the most part that the biggest thing that would deter somebody from playing this particular game would be if you don't like a strategy type of thing, or if you have that. You know, your gaming partner is just that genius that you're never going to win.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've only won one game against Haley, and I still like the game, and usually I'm pretty good at this stuff, but for some reason,
I think if I was
can't do anything.
If I was at 15 games and I've never won this, then I would be a little frustrated.
I also, back to the good side of it, I also think this is good for almost like the gateway or non-gamer type of thing, because I think people can relate to this in terms of like a checkers or a chess type of thing.
Yes,
it's so
when we
simple.
were playing, it more reminded me of chess.
Yeah. So I mean, but way simpler. I mean.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's two things, like we said: move and build.
Or an Othello, or anything like any of those simple strategy type things in terms of mechanics, but oh my gosh, there's so much that happens when you start playing, and the creators adding in the powers is just fantastic, because you could play for hours and hours and hours with not even the gods. When you throw the gods in now, just kind of wow. So I don't know. I don't have much more to say.
I guess
about
somebody who doesn't like what is it? What do they call it? Analysis paralysis kind of stuff.
Oh,
where,
somebody's
like,
gonna
if your
think
opponent's just like trying to figure everything out. I mean, even if you were sitting there looking, like as you were figuring out your turn, I was trying to contemplate what I was going to do and try to figure out what you were going to do as well. So for me, I didn't mind Mickey's thinking time in this because I was thinking myself. But I do know there are people who don't like other people thinking for a long time.
I will say that can definitely happen in this game, but also there's only so much time they can possibly take too, because literally it's like I can move my person here or I can't.
Yeah.
And you can look at all the
there's
possibilities.
A finite number of
there's a it's not, and unless you're a real genius, I suppose you could be like, okay, if I move here and do this and 10 turns down the road, as long as... But I think that's a lot harder based on what my opponent can possibly do back.
Especially,
I mean,
I'm not
saying, and I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying that I think that after a while, you can stare at that board as long as you want, and it's not going to change your possibilities. I am not sure that it has as much... because both of us use chess for an example. I'm not sure it has as much of a 15 moves out type of thing that you can predict, because your opponent...
that I can see.
Well, it'd be a lot harder because your opponent has so many options.
Well, I mean, just how complex it would get trying to figure it all out. My brain can't handle it.
Mine either. So if you guys can handle it, but Jeb, that is a good point. That would be the other deterrent, that if you had somebody that is one of those, I'm going to calculate every daggone possible move I can possibly make before I make my move. It could get slow.
When your turn takes longer than the entire game, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
Because this game plays so quick that I would just be like, man, you've been thinking for 10 minutes, just move and we'll just play another game of it. So,
right.
Things to remember. My problem was my ability that Mickey reminded me a couple times, where it was just specific to him that I couldn't move up, because I tried doing that a couple times.
He can move up, but then he doesn't get the double bill.
Right, and that's where, when I was thinking and trying to do stuff, I didn't take that into account, and that was my problem with Prometheus. That's not going to happen with everyone, but I assume with other abilities you'll have to remember certain restrictions.
Yeah, I would agree with Jeb. That's probably about the only... some people, they get excited and they start to put their build thing out, and there's, a lot of times when I'm teaching somebody the game, it's like, nope, you have to move first.
Right.
Nope, you have to move first. Barring some ability that lets you do something else. That's about the biggest thing I can see in the game that doesn't. If you're teaching the game, people get hung up on a couple of things. We'll remind you again that we said earlier. They get at the very beginning of the game, they get stuck on if they're just learning ownership of the buildings. There are no ownership of the buildings. Anybody can use the buildings. And I've noticed a lot of people will start the game and they'll just move around the ground and build stuff. It's almost like they think, oh, I can't jump up until I have a bunch. Right. It's remember, it's build any level at any time, all the time. Okay, it's just the movement that is different. So it's one move, and you can only go up one level on your turn, but you can always go down as many as you want. And I don't think I have anything else to say.
The last thing I thought of is just a recommendation when teaching someone new this game. I would recommend not using any of the god abilities.
Yeah.
Just teach them straight out how to play it with no powers so they can see the base mechanics of the game.
Yeah. And
then once you see them grasp it, then I would add the god powers to spice it up.
And the rule book actually does say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it does. But he's... I don't throw the god cards in right away either, because it does take... But it takes people like... 3 moves before they're like, oh, okay, I get the mechanics, and then you're good to go. And then as you play, you get more of the strategy and what you're trying to do. But you can try to do something, and your opponent can really blow that into the water. So, yeah, I don't have anything really bad to say about this game. I was really impressed. So
yeah, you guys did a good job on this one.
Yeah, Roxley Games. Yeah, did we even read who the designer was? Dr. Gordon Hamilton. If he's a mathematician or something, but it was freaking awesome.
Was this like, this is getting on, wasn't there like an old version of this game, and this is like kind of a reskin of it, or not?
Oh, I don't know.
For some reason, I feel like I read something about that. I could be wrong. But
if it's a reskin, then sorry for repeating ourselves, but it's awesome. If you haven't seen it, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is a reskin of something.
I mean, I never saw whatever it was before, but...
Or maybe they took this mechanics and said, hey, let's add powers. I don't know. It's a really cool game.
It is.
It's super quick. That's another thing. I mean, like, if you have, if it's like you and your partner or whatever, it's a fantastic 2-player game.
Right.
Or you and your kids, because, I think it scales well for all ages. I mean, and there's no reading involved.
Right.
So, and... what a great thing to challenge your kids, thinking and stuff. It's awesome. So. And
since Mickey and I both paint miniatures for our games, I say Mickey should paint them for this one. There's only 6.
You know how many miniatures I have to paint? These things are staying exactly like they are. Good gracious.
All right. Well, I think that's it for our fan pick, which is just our pick.
Yeah, but it was a good pick.
Yeah. And our next episode, wow, I believe it's Stone Age is the next one that we're doing. That's a worker placement that's pretty, that's closer to intro to worker placements, right?
Definitely. It's a classic, so if you haven't heard of it, I think you'll enjoy the episode. If you already know about it, watch us anyways.
Yeah, and tell people about it.
Tell people about it.
So give us any comments, feedback, fan picks. We like those as well. Like us, subscribe us, all that stuff. I mean, you don't have to, but it helps us see that we're making an effect on people. So. I think we've been growing, so that's good.
Mm-hmm. So, slowly but surely.
Yep. So until next time, see ya.
See ya.
Boards and booze, booze and boards with Mickey and Jeb.